any countries progress into EV and wind technology and missile technology, drone technology is becoming impossible. So India also, next please. So India also made a list of 30 which is called as critical minerals for India. And these minerals are needed for the strategic use for the country, India, as well as for the development of various the industries. So next please. So what we can see here is these minerals are in abundance in Africa. And here comes the role, and in my opinion, the Africa can play a pivotal role in this crisis because they have plenty of them. So now my next slide please. So what we can see here, I'm just giving you one example out of this 30 or a US list of 50. It's like industry battery. It requires a lot of elements. They are there, I have given them. So I have also given the countries, they have those, like lithium are there in Zimbabwe, and there are minerals like Namibia and Ghana and Mali and all. So this is how the role of the importance of the Africa comes. Next please. So what we see here, we just did some exercise. Right now in the world, there are about 1,500 million vehicles. And every country is now thinking to change the IC engines into the EV. And once you just think of these are converted into the EV, how much is the lithium required for batteries? This is mind-blowing figure. And on top of this, what we observed was that though the number of vehicles are more in northern hemisphere, the resources are in the southern hemisphere. I mean, let's take the richest deposits in the world of lithium is in Australia, green bushes. Then there are brines in Latin America, a group of countries like Chile, Bolivia, and Argentina. So this brings the supply chain dynamic to the forefront. And here, because of the geographical location, Africa has that advantage. They can supply to the west, they can supply to the east, both ways. So here, I just gave you one example, and all the 30 elements have their own stories. There's no time, so I don't want to go into that. So I just state with calm. Next slide, please. That India at the moment having a technological edge. So it's not like we can just extract the minerals from the African continent, but on the same time we can bring the technology. We can collaborate with the African countries, and we can develop their resources. So what is known today is all information from the surface. We know few deposits. Maybe if we do the exploration, we may get resources multiplied by tenfold or maybe more that we need to assess. So this is very important, where we can collaborate with the African countries and bring the technology, latest technology, advanced technology to explore the resources. So this is how we need to build a partnership between India and this is what we have discussed. It was a very brainstorming. Mr. Bisiso Mayo was there from Zimbabwe. Mr. Rahul is an industrialist from India, he was there. And a lot of people were there in our brainstorming session. So my next slide is what is the outcome of our. So there is an overwhelming response of the people to have a partnership that is, we can say, that Indian and African partnership into the collaboration for recognizing this mutual growth, inclusive growth, and supply chain. The second thing is to create a dedicated, this was a point brought by Kenya, that we should have some sort of a dedicated India-African critical mineral trade body. So we are doing a lot of supply. So can we streamline them, these supplies? And the third one which emerged was to leverage the Indian technical expertise for inclusive and sustainable mining. The other one which we also brought, a point which was raised by Zimbabwe, that we should have the partnership which is equitable. There are companies, what he said was from the Zimbabwe, can invest few percentage, so they have the partnership, equitable partnership with Indian firms over there. The other point which also came was that can we have value addition? This is, I can say, one of the most important point outcome of this session. We have the resources, we have the raw material which has been exported. Let me give you just example. A lithium, when it is mined in any country, it is sold with $1,000 for a 1 ton. But when it is being processed, it becomes $10,000 per ton. Even it has gone much, many-fold also. Once upon a time, just 2 years back, lithium was trading at $80,000 to a ton. So this value chain is very important. And here India can play a real role. I mean, we do have the expertise into the processing and metallurgy. We can have a collaborative project so that you can do value addition in your own countries and then export, rather than exporting just a raw material. So this was also one of the point. And the other one which also came on the discussion was that can we have a joint center of excellence for the skill development? Can India has that expertise? We have a lot of good reputed institutions. Can we train people here who can take the lead and take forward this industry? And the last one which came was that whatever we want to do, collaboration, partnership, whatever we call, should be based on the value of trust. And on the same time, it should be having an environmental sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunil. The discussion, I was there at the round table, was quite animated, and I think people felt very strongly about issues of sustainability. The community should not be adversely affected throughout this mining process, and also to move away from the century-old extraction, exploitative methods in this industry, and how can we be more equitable when we establish collaboration between Africa and maybe countries like India. And we will probably need your help as Critical Minerals Association of India. And I can also visualize down the line that we could actually put together a delegation of people from across Africa to come to India to look at some of the technology capabilities that we have built, and that way establish us in this sector. Thank you, sir. Kenneth couldn't come. Kenneth, as I mentioned, he's from Kenyatta University. He couldn't come. But Ida will quickly summarize for us what were some of the outcomes of the health and medtech discussions.
All right, thank you so much. The Healthcare Roundtable brought together thoughtful leaders, innovators around from India and from Kenya. And as we all know, she mentioned that we cannot do without food, but also it's very critical that we cannot also do without health. And with that, we were able to describe some of the problems that are available both in India and in Kenya. So the statistics, we obviously know that the population in India is much higher in billions, 1.5 billion, and in Kenya we're still in millions though. However, the annual death per life birth is 3,500 in Kenya per life birth in 1,000 mentioned, the problem shows an opportunity, and what India has been doing is quite significant, mostly in the maternal, and that is significant for life. All of us would not be here if not for our mothers, right? And so we were able to discuss and be able to come up with systems and notice some of the things that have been done within amongst ourselves, and also see how we can get to improve them. One of it was through the Stanford Biolab, led by Dr. Vikal, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Also with Ken from the Kenyatta University, with some of the students who are creating, innovating ideas. I'm so glad to hear that she'll be able to go to one of the students will be able to go to India for more research and to establish maternal solutions here in Kenya. Further than that, we were able to also realize that there's a gap between communicable and non-communicable diseases, and that's why we were able to get to know some of the drugs that have been established in India, and we can be able to bring them here, right here in Kenya, and they're able to be treating some deadly diseases such as, I don't know if most of you know, there are 10 different types of fevers, and each and all of them it's really deadly. And one of it with Dr. Jitendra Verma and the Verma labs have been able to think of how they can bring these drugs here in Kenya. In addition, there is also once led by Andre. Yes, once was able to. He is one of the young people who are able to drive technological solutions in the medical field, bringing something that's very interesting, and it's also a big problem here in Africa, not just Kenya, and that is in the records of patients are reaching out to the rural and urban, because urban and rural gap in the healthcare sector is also a major problem, both in India and in Africa. So Mons is able to create an offline-based electronic health system, and that is able to modify health and ensure that healthcare is accessed in rural areas. Further than that, we also noticed some barriers that are majorly experienced both in India and Africa, and that is in the policies. So the government should be able to come in and be able to help us through it, and that is by helping people in the policy sectors. And with that, we had someone from the Kenya Healthcare Federation, that is Lucy Wanjiru. Lucy was able, in our month's discussion, we were able to see how the policies can be enacted to help the private entities and the public entities to reach out to the spaces in the healthcare that gaps that are available. And that was much that we were able to speak and establish in the healthcare. Thank you very much.
I think a really big source of inspiration is the Stanford India-Africa Bioresult Lab. They've been able to implement their design processes across a few thousand universities in India, and that has resulted in 3,000 to 4,000 companies in medtech and healthtech that have been incubated in these universities, because they were able to transfer the playbook from Stanford Bioresult Lab into these universities, and they replicated this in East Africa as well. So I suggest that anyone in the medtech space should go and look at this lab and look at all the patents that they have been able to apply for and get. And these are solving some real last-mile problems in mental health, in early infancy, and really sticky medical problems. Anurag Maral, I don't know if you've heard of him. So Dr. Anurag has written this beautiful book called Reimagining Health in India and Africa. Anyone interested, please get hold of it. There are very practical examples and solutions that have come at a grassroots level across Africa and from India. Aarti from the Green Energy Group was not able to make it, but she asked me to read out 3 points that came out of their discussions on sustainability, climate tech, and green energy. Their conclusions were that access to funding remains a major barrier to scaling green energy solutions in Africa. Blended finance models and patient capital with a sustainability lens are critical to de-risk early stage innovations and support long-term growth. The second point they had was that we need context-driven solutions tailored to local resource availability, local needs, policy frameworks, and tapping into regional pockets of innovation. Those are all essential to build scalable and resilient green energy businesses. And lastly, green innovations offer strong commercial potential, but unlocking this requires coordinated action across the ecosystem between finance providers, policymakers, regulators, and markets. They must all be aligned to direct meaningful change. And I would now invite Srini, our star of the summit, to summarize the conversation on education and skill development.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the education and skills segment, I scouted people, brilliant youngsters, because it is all about impacting, what is impacting the youngsters of today. So I caught hold of one gentleman who has been the pillar of the summit, Emmanuel. Here. The second person, Emmanuel is an entrepreneur, graduated a year ago. Because I wanted to hear the real issues from the youth. It is very easy to sit 50-year-olds and 40-year-olds sit and talk about a solution. You should catch 21, 22-year-olds to figure out what is the real problem. The second person was a lady, Grace, who for the last couple of years is working with GE Healthcare. And the third person is Morphia. I found him here. Yeah, he's here. He's also another entrepreneur in the tech space, challenging, struggling, pushing, striving. So these are the three youngsters who invested time in sharing what they are going through. So I'll just reiterate what they shared. The first thing was shared is, in terms of roti and kapra comes from agri. Then the next thing anybody wants is education for their children. Because if an educated child in the family, the next generation, everybody gets educated. And one of the other issues that I noticed in the last couple of years of my travel here is very, very high unwed single mothers in Africa. Too many. So that's the reason I also co-opted with the lady Grace, and Dr. Lydia is also sitting here. She's heading an institution, TVET, in the medical space. So I tried to scout people with their profiles, and though they were not registered, I pulled them into the conference. So, first thing they said is, we are struggling to feed ourselves. Where will we be able to study? So that's the first thing they shared about. Second thing they shared about is, we are not aware of opportunities now. There is nothing called career guidance, so we don't know what is next. The institutions are least bothered about skills that matter in the real world. People get credentials and they are of no use in the real world. Yeah? And so they're not ready for the job market. So what is being offered in the institution, what is in demand, there is a huge gap. And when we don't get placed or we don't get jobs, it further demotivates the next batches that are emerging out of the institutions. And one thing surprised me, which perhaps in India I would never encounter or not, or people have not shared, they said this causes severe mental health, which harms their physical health too. So mental health is not at all taken care of in school. And there was there's another young lady, Kimberly, sitting here today too, I noticed. She's in the school, and because round table, so I told that everybody in the hall is a round table, not just the panels. So I asked her, she said that schools never support any activities that we wish to do. So we get penalized if you have to miss class then, but it will be punished, you will be taken examination and we don't score well because we were doing all of this. So opportunities are not encouraged. So these are the challenges that they share. And in the audience, as a part of the panel, Ananya is sitting here, she said there is no campus placements. They are not equipped, and second, the institutions don't help them to find jobs and opportunities. We are talking about AI and digital learning. They're too expensive. Not many can even access them. Forget about it. We all thought there, but there is access. That is what we treated by Mr. Gray, who is not here. He is R&D head of Don Bosco Tibet institutions across 34 countries, and there are 118 Tibet institutions. So again, quite a few things to share. We want to figure out the livelihood has to be sustainable. What are we doing education for? What is the employability for if it doesn't impact? And he said that there is a big need for shift to the policy making which the nations lack. So he said legal framework, political framework, they are not conducive for running institutions. And Dr. Lydia shared that the policy makers what students need, and she was very interesting, said today 90% of the teacher is the mobile. We sitting in the institution is only 10%. And what we teach in the class is there's a big gap in what we teach and what they need or what they really like and what the world likes. So for them they resort to this technology which they can just serve. So as policy makers we got to sit and relook at what is it we are really doing, what are the shifts that we need to really make. And another very important thing, and she also shared that, and including Dr. Ajay. Dr. Ajay, who is IIT Delhi in Abu Dhabi, he was also panelist. He spoke about the solution, but they said that they asked these three youngsters, given an opportunity, if you get a job in Kenya or if you get a job abroad, what will you do? Kindly tell me honestly. Everyone said, we will go abroad. So I said, now you understand. Are we creating anything in the institution, in the education system, in the skill system that will help the nation to really progress? So we would really think. That's where Dr. Lydia shared that our indigenous knowledge, which is of great value in every sector, we are losing. We are importing anything which is alien, we are trying to force through in the name of technology. And so that also is very, very important. So then we moved into the phase of how to solve these issues. Because as we go ahead, the most spoken about four dimensions that is very important for any education system or skill system or anything to impart is number one is creativity. Because we are seeing last week I read an article 7,000 techies have been retrenched in Microsoft, and the numbers have gone over 2 lakhs in the last 1 year in the top tech institutions. So people who are educated techies and who have worked for 10, 12, 15 years are asked to go. So it simply means we have got to have an education system which facilitates individuals to be learners for lifetime, which facilitates creativity, which facilitates critical thinking. So irrespective of where you are thrown or whichever problems thrown at you, you should be able to find solutions. You should be able to work around and see what kind of solutions you. Then the skills, real skills they need as they progress, collaboration. The other thing is communication, ability to share what they have in their heart and mind, and so communication. So these are the 4 C's. Then Dr. Ajay shared one more C is missing there, that is character. So 5th C he added. Sneha shared that, because Sneha runs, as he shared, the data centers, IX Africa, but he was also earlier heading data science school, Moringa, which has trained about 12,000 data science and tech graduates in the last 10 years. So he said that the government say 1 million people will do this, 10 million. So first and foremost, feed 50,000 children. That is the first step I want the government to do. Don't talk. He said, potential is immense, but we are not helping them to realize. We need to start small and first give them food, then give them skills that is value to the world. And Mr. Raman Rao was also, Dr. Raman Rao was also here. And he said that he gave an example of German solved the problem through Diploma Kaufmann program where schools and institutions are integrated, and the school children actually work with the car maker. So by the time they're out of school, they have all skill sets to be employed. Because in Germany, 90 to 95% of people are Tibet. They don't go to higher education. They're all Tibet. For nations in Africa, that is the way that we're going to make it. The skills should be driven by the industry. Dr. Ajay Shukla winding up because India, talking from the India perspective, India has already set up Indian Institute of Technology. Madras has set up its campus in Africa, which is in Zanzibar, to build capacities in technology. India has set up National Institute of Forensic Sciences in Kampala. So India as a nation is working very consciously to build South-South. I can tell you in the next 10 years, if you not see dozen national level institutions, including all national medicals, all of them you will see in Africa. You will not have, I'm sure, you will not have plane loads of Africans going to India for health checkup. That is going to happen here. So, he spoke about mobility is very important. This is a world where barriers are falling. Mobility is important. If we all invest in infrastructure, we don't look at people as an infrastructure. People is the greatest infrastructure. If educated people fly away from here, nothing is going to work. So that's what it is said. And we spoke about building the teachers. The institutions you can build, but you build the teachers. Capacity of teachers to be built. And teachers have to be paid. Teaching, anybody who doesn't get a job anywhere else becomes a teacher. It should be flipped aside. If you have to build nations, you have to build teachers. That's how things can happen. Talent is more important than infra, and if you attention to talent. So these are the broad things. India as a nation, I'll just give you an example before I wind up. You can all go and check on YouTube, there is an institution called Vigyan Ashram, which is an institution which picks up students who run away from school because school is boring. So you'll have children after grade 6 and 7, it is here in Pune. So this is set up by an R&D head of Hindustan Unilever. He takes these children and teaches only skills. All school dropouts, 100 kilometers around this place called Pabur. You go there, you ask anybody, any industry, any company, any building, all of them built by students from that dropout school. MIT has only one fabrication unit outside MIT, that is in that school. So any problem in that 100 kilometers people have, they go and give the problem statement, the school creates a team, and from analyzing, evaluating, continuous of project to sourcing, procuring, building, everything is done by the students. They are grade 8 to grade 12. That is the way for progress in Africa. That's the right. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Srini. And thank you once again to all these wonderful moderators, Sandeep, Srini, Shreyas, Sheena, and Ida, who brought their passion and their own insights into this conversation. Thank you, everybody. And we'll take a quick picture.
Thank you.
Okay.